Hi, my name is Eelco Schattorie. I am a Dutch UEFA Pro football coach. I worked in several parts of the world. I worked in Europe, Asia and Africa. During this stint, I worked at several different clubs of different levels and also had some very interesting internships. During this period of time, I had my fair share of winning and losing. I was once chosen best coach of the league, took a team with the lowest budget to the first time in their history playoffs. I had some very interesting mentors, like you see here, Avram Grant, former coach of Chelsea. Had always a good relationship, for instance with this team, changed the playing style that the supporters wanted and scored the highest amount of goals in their history. Always had a good relationship with the fans. And as I said, I also had some interesting internships, never stop learning. All that together forms a blueprint. All that information, when you gather that, you form a blueprint for a coach. That means he knows how to go about, when he gets a new job, how to deal with people, how to deal with the club. Now, without going completely into the full blueprint, it's basically built out of three parts. What is football, forces in football, and how to manage football. But the most important thing is, you see here the framework. I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm just pick out a few things, especially the technical part. But there is an idea on how I go about my work when I enter a new club. So how do you manage the people and how do you actually manage the football part? How do you, your coaching philosophy. Now, within the football vision, basically you can sum it up in being invincible lies in the defense, the possibility to victory in the attack. That basically sums up my whole philosophy, or in this case, football vision. Now, within all this football vision, I take one thing out, one defensive part and one offensive part, and we call them basically principles, and you have attacking and defensive principles. Now, if you see here in this example, where in any given time in my last job, we had an opponent that we had to face, and the opponent was playing a 4-3-3. We were playing a 4-4-2. The opponent liked to press and play with a high line. The midfield defensively was not very organized, many times out of position. And today in this training, I only had 16 players in the training. So you have to adapt. How are you going to put that all together and prepare for the opponent? Now, I chose a form 8 against 8. This is the playing field with 2 free zones on each side. Why, I will explain later, or that will become clear. Because the opponent 4-3-3, we made it 4-3-1. We only have 8 players, and we play 4-4-2, and it becomes a 4-2-2. So as close as possible to the reality. The goal of this exercise is to play behind the defense line. Why? Because the opponent is pressing us. So that's the whole idea behind this exercise. Important, because we play 2 strikers. You have 1 striker for the build-up and 1 striker for the deep run, for the deep play. And that will all become clear later when I show you the goal we scored during that game. In this whole concept, it is important, try to put pressure also on the opponent, because it's more difficult to play deep play, and also for us to have a better training. So lots of pressure means it's difficult to play deep. Now watch this part, the ball goes to the other side in a bit. Now there is no pressure on the ball, so now I want players running deep, get behind that defense line. So these principles you implement into the training. You see here this player is running, he does not receive the ball. All good, that's my job of coaching to make that clear to them. So in the next part you will see in a bit, here they start again the build-up. Build-up is all about keeping the ball, make sure you don't make easy mistakes. As I said, 1 striker for the build-up, 1 striker is ready for the deep run. We see here another example, not too much pressure on the ball, so make the deep run. The opponent intercepts the ball here. We go to the last part, the last clip, because I took of course some parts out to make the picture clear, to illustrate it properly. You see here the build-up again, 1 striker again for the build-up and 1 striker for the deep run. So he should stay away, he should not be interfering with the build-up there, so he's waiting. Very important. So it's about translating that message from the training to the game. You see here we find a free player on the midfield, he turns and we get the deep run. Why? Because the opponent is playing with a high line. We get here, unfortunately the striker will not score. That happens in training. But now we go to the game. You can see here where the opponent is playing a 4-3-3, press forward with a high line, with a lot of space behind them. Within my principles, don't lose easy balls on the midfield, so under pressure don't turn, keep it simple. We are playing a 4-4-2 with this team. This is my last job. We change sides through the keeper where the free player is. And the next step is very important. Within my principles, I always like to create an extra player in the midfield, so my center back moves into the midfield where we create a 3 versus 2. So that means we outnumber them. And now the crucial part will come. As we spoke during the whole clips, 1 for the build-up striker, 1 for the deep run, and see this results in a beautiful goal. Now, the second part is, this is on the World Cup, rest defense. So while you are attacking, just as an example to illustrate it, while you attack, it is important, what do you leave behind? Mexico 4-4-2, Germany 4-3-3. So the moment you go forward, this moment you need to take care, how are you organized from behind? You see here that both wingbacks are playing very high, so that means we need to organize our defense. The corners are open, so what should happen now, this defender, he should mark already forward. Because they are losing the ball, and because Hummels from Germany is a bit too late, he should already anticipate that. That's how you get a counter-attack. And then you get in those corners that are open, you get the counter-attack and they score a goal. Rest defense, very important within my principles. I will give you one more example where you see here a player takes a risk by dribbling forward. He takes an unnecessary risk. While in the back it's 1v1. My center backs, or their center backs, are playing 1v1. So the right wing back here, he should pay attention to stay. He should not go forward. He should cover. You always create 3 versus 2 or 2 versus 1. So they lose the ball and those counter spaces are open because the wing backs are high. It's 1v1 and you get, so this is how it should be. So the right wing back should be there. He should not go forward, so that if this ball is played, you right away cover. And he didn't cover this, so you see how this goal is being scored. On the midfield here, this player will score the goal while the opponent, sorry, the one in white, you see this one, he should easily pick him up. This is a mental thing. So these kind of things you work with players, you try to illustrate it for them. I'm very good at it to make that clear to the player. Now, we'll finish it off. I always have a very good relationship with the players. I'm good at the media. I have a lot of confidence there. I'm not shy. I'm good at tactical decisions. You see here in the last minute, change the formation, go all out, and we scored a beautiful. We were 5 minutes before with with 1-0 behind, and in those 5 minutes we scored 2 goals. And I'm good in taking those risks. I communicate a lot. Communication with my staff, with my players, very important. As I said, I also had a good relationship with supporters, very important. My last 2 jobs. Cooperation, being a team together, is one of the key things within the team building, the five dysfunctions of football. This looks arrogant, but this is confidence. I'm very confident in what I do. I believe in what I do. So I worked in different cultures, so that means you have a lot of luggage in your backpack. I always work with the young talents, never are scared to put them inside the field. Training, as I showed you, translate from the training to the game. Very important, make it understandable. I spend a lot of time with individual on players to make them understand, and also was part of being pundit on TV talking about football. There is nothing more easy than that. Thank you, and hopefully see you in my next job.